Hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Lionel. Hey, I'm your host for L2 Productions, and you are watching I Watch You Watch. We are covering Beyond the Gates. This is my weekly review, and I believe that this is week 9. I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Please like this video. Also, subscribe to my channel. You can share, and you can leave your comments below. Now, let's get into these week's episodes. Okay. All right. So we had some movement going on. I was very impressed with Doug and Vanessa's story this week. And I think we haven't had this much movement. I think this week and last week, it was not saying it wasn't going anywhere, but it was been kind of just laying out the foundation as to what's happening. But I was like, okay, I dig it. We're getting closer and closer to Ted and Nicole's anniversary party and all that good stuff. And of course, Leslie has her own plans and being very rogue and not really following the plot. And it's making Eva look worried or seem worried and need to know what's going on. We got some Andre and Danny action and some Nicole action, not Nicole action, some, what are their names? Ashley and Derek action, which I'll pose a question a little bit later about them. And some Tyrell action. And Chelsea action. I can't wait till they really delve into this with Chelsea, which I think even next week we get some previews about that. Enough of me gabbing. Let's get in. Let's go. Okay. So, of course, we know Doug got injured at the job because he got overly emotional about, I think, losing a patient. Joey comes visits him and basically now is arming him and saying that time is up and you owe me. Which I think is just kind of crazy to me because the minute that you know that he's lost his source of income, he needs to pay up, and you put that extra pressure. Like, when did the past due amount summary come in? When did you mail me my bill? You know, like, I know that you can't really push because look, you got somebody that you do owe money, and then somebody that is known to use his muscle against people. So, hey, so Joey's like, look, I don't have time to wait. Doug said that I can get it to you. It's going to take me a little time. I got investments elsewhere to move it in. But he's like, no, I want it now, which I think is crazy. So he says, don't you have anyone that cares about you enough to want to help you out? He mentions his wife. So basically, really strong-arming him to get the monies elsewhere. But, of course, he has his own plans. Joey does. While they're talking, Vanessa walks in. She doesn't hear the conversation, but she wants to know what's going on. Joey says, you know, I just came to the hospital visiting a friend. I was overhearing the nurses talk about Doug's injury, and I just wanted to see if he was okay. I guess Vanessa took it for what it was, but because it's Joey, and she's got a little crush on him. I love Joey. That just came to me from Lord, one of my favorite movies, top 5 favorites, 5 Heartbeats. Remember the first scenes of 5 Heartbeats when they're having the talent show, and one of the groups, the girl group, had this song of I Love Joey? That's where I got that from. Random. Anyways. So, moving on a little bit, we see Ava. Ava is trying to plan this event, and she's trying to intermingle with the party planners. And you know, the party planners probably don't know where Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard is at. If you catch my drift. Or, I once knew of that boulevard, but now I'm on Wealthy Lane, you know? So she's talking and she's thinking that she could really talk to them like, you know, Kim off of Moesha. Where's the party? She didn't say party like that, but she thought she would get down with them. And as she's talking, they're laughing at each other. It was funny. She hardly understands what caviar is. They're asking the different kinds. Do they want beluga? Really, Eva could not answer the questions in regards to what they want. So they agreed to allow Eva to have more time to talk to Ted and Nicole about this anniversary party and as far as things that they could do so they could plan it the right way. So it was a funny scene. Our other big scene from tonight was karaoke night. The whole plot by Naomi was to get Anita on stage. Naomi started off the karaoke. Then she was like, you know, I can't do it by myself. I need my mom up there. So they cheer for Danny to come up there. But then they said, wait a minute, we can't really do it without Anita. Anita took several minutes saying, no, I am Anita Dupree, Anita Williams. And I have not rehearsed. And I'm not going up there. And Vernon's doing his best to just say, hey, you are wonderful and you are great. And the world still needs to hear from you, blah, 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 blah. And she said, well, what if somebody records me and I don't hit the right note or it's just not as good? And I want people to remember Anita Williams as she was. She did make a good point with that, I will not lie. But still, this is karaoke. You're not supposed to be a recording artist, per se, you know? This isn't, what is it, Night Out with Apollo? Or how did they say it? This isn't Apollo, basically. Nobody's gonna boo you or none of that. Now, you could go viral, but hey, let's just do it. So she finally gets up there, took a few minutes to get her wings, and then she soared. She did what she did. Kat was still trying to pressure Chelsea to go on and ask Danny to be the CMO of their company, and of course Chelsea was afraid of that. So after everything as far as karaoke, Anita really nailed it. Vernon's been talking with a talent agent and seeing where they can actually do as helping Anita with relaunching her music career. She grumbled about it and didn't really like it and calling the dude a charlatan. It's basically somebody posing to be something that they're not. I said, I'm gonna have to use that word this week. You old charlatan. Somehow I'm gonna use it. But yes, I'm glad that they're using these words and expanding my vocabulary. So she meets with the talent agent and now she's okay with the idea of doing something with her career. So Bill navigates internal firm pressures. He's really pissed at Naomi of this twist. You know, he was so happy to have his daughter back, but now everything's changing with his firm or what he thinks. So he puts to task for Tomas to go into these meetings and find out what's going on. Yes, Bill is a partner, but there's a lot of other executives that are able to make moves in regards to the structure of the organization. And we'll find out later in the week as to what's going on. Chelsea finally gets up the nerve, goes to Danny's home and says, will you be the CMO? And Danny says, no, I will not do that. Andre runs into Doug and they talk for a few minutes in regards to what's going on with Doug. They heard about the injury and stuff. Andre asked, I could do a documentary on you, just seeing a renowned doctor go from this to that to where he's at right now and now getting from out of that type of darkness. And Doug said, absolutely not. Doug has a lot of pride. And that happens a lot, not just with doctors, but with those type of professions where you are kind of seen as a god, a small g god, and you're supposed to always be this and perfect and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's a lot, it's intimidating and to actually display weakness when you're supposed to be the one to fix everything. So he said no. So they have a talk and Andre understands. And as Andre is leaving, he finds a lotto ticket and asks Doug, is it his? And he says, no, it's not. So Doug ended up scratching it off and winning $50K. Now, anybody that's smart would have said, okay, I can pay off Joey. Well, Doug was smart and said, I can pay off Joey. And then he gets this radical idea saying, I can pay off Joey, or I can use this money and bet on a horse that I know that is going to win. And I can invest whatever the money's left that I have from owning Joey. He tells all this to Randy, and Randy's like, you sure about doing this? It's just best to pay and get out of everything. But Doug says, I'm sure that I should do what I do. I'm on a lucky streak, I'm on fire, and I cannot lose. Later on, Randy tells him that his horse came in last. Not even in second, or third, or fourth. Last. Okay, Doug. So sure, Doug. Whatever. At the country club, Ted and Eva, they're having a little lunch. He's trying to prepare some stuff for Nicole. At the same time, Leslie has shown up at the country club. Eva has tried to say, tried to tell her, go. This is not a good thing for you to do. She tells Eva, yeah, I'll go. Well, she didn't. And she ends up talking with Nicole. She tells Nicole, goodbye, I'm leaving town. I know my purpose, and da-da-da-da-da. Ted's ready to get up, and Eva sees that Leslie did not leave as she was supposed to. So she's trying to distract Ted from getting up to going over and connecting the dots with seeing her with Nicole. So she delayed long enough for at least Sherry to slip out. And then, of course, everything was good. Let me see. The following day, it's the same day. Talking about Wednesday. After Chelsea asked Danny to be the CMO, Danny says no. And Chelsea's like, but why? You know, you would be a great fit. And then she even says, I was opposed to it. But then Kat helped me to see that it would be very beneficial. And Danny said, no, because I need to find my own way. And I don't want to be, in so many words, somebody's charity case. I feel myself being better, and I'm picking myself up. And Chelsea said, no disrespect, but you've said this before, and look where you're at. But Danny said, no, this time it's different. I don't have no type of plot. I have something else that I have in the works that it's not a plot against Bill and Haley and none of that. Now, does she tell him? I don't remember if she tells her, but possibly. But I think she did. She says that, I'm going to run a modeling agency, Pam and I. So So Chelsea is very excited, and she knows that Mom is going to knock it out of the ballpark. So it was a mature decision, because it's so easy to latch on to something that's familiar. And Danny going out there, she's familiar with the modeling world, but it's something to stand up on her own feet without using certain people as a crutch. Danny and Andre do have a special time. Of course, they sexual. And Danny takes some provocative photos of Andre and are debating on if they should go public. But are y'all in a relationship? And what about your feelings towards Ashley, Andre? Because I feel like Danny's world is going to collide yet again once she finds out that you really are in love with someone else or have feelings for someone else. Honestly, I really wish that they would scrap the whole Andre has any type of feelings for this Ashley girl, because it's not really making sense. I think it's a way to try to make Ashley relevant. And right now, it's okay that she's not. Let her be one of those secondary characters. And we're going to talk about her and Derek in just a few minutes, because I see some people who have things to say about Ashley and Derek that, at least if you consider my view as to, okay, well, I don't understand why you have this type of view. Give me a few moments. Let's see. At the country club, Ted urges Nicole to abandon their anniversary party and let's escape and go do something private. And Nicole's like, no, we've invited so many people, blah, 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 blah. We can do all this later. You can see the urgency in Ted, but Nicole's asking different questions, but Ted's not being honest. Oh, I forgot. Back it up to Monday. Eva and Thomas have a conversation. They talk a little bit about Danny and who did something? Oh, Naomi. Naomi had this lawsuit against Bill and all that stuff. Ava was like, I don't think I could do that to my father. They get on the subject of Alan, who is her stepfather, that Leslie was messing with. He wasn't bad or mean. He just never latched onto Eva and wouldn't allow Eva to call him dad or stepdad or anything. He just remained detached. And she just really wants the type of relationship with a dad, just as Kat has with Ted, all that good stuff. Yeah. So Wednesday, I think it was, Kat ended up getting the tea from Thomas after just wanting to know more about Eva because she's trying to figure her out. She gets the tea and plans to head over to, we find out that she plans to talk to Eva. Ted had already asked for Kat to just lay low, just drop this vendetta. We care for Eva and all that good stuff. Just stop, you know, because Kat wanted to overtake what Eva was doing to plan for the celebration. I know you guys, but they said no. Oh, well, he said no, don't do that. And the best present is for you to just drop this beef with her. So Eva gets home. This is Wednesday, and she confronts Leslie. Leslie denies everything, even though Eva says, "No, I saw you." Da 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 da. Leslie said, "How dare you talk to your mother like this?" And da 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 da. Ah, ah, ah. And Eva's like, "Look, we had a plan, but you just keep going rogue, and I just don't understand what's happening." Da 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 da. You can lie to this person and that person. Why lie to me? And that's fair. That's a fair argument. But Leslie was able to gaslight her a little bit more and just said, "I'm not this, da 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 da. You know, we're in this together, and we have one goal. Let's stick to that." Blah 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 blah. Doug, he catches Vanessa and Joey flirting, and then he ends up taking his wife to, I think, a hotel or whatever, and they have sex. I was like, wait, whoa, 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 whoa. First, a guy knows that his wife is flirting and then goes to have sex. It feels like as soon as he knew that he lost that money, he wanted to come in and give the D to possibly tell her what's going on. At least we thought that was going to happen. Well, anyways, they have sex. They kind of reconnect and all that. Because Vanessa was already talking with Nicole earlier in the week about, or last week about, you know, there is some concern for Doug and how he's moving. Nicole said, you know, do you care for him more than what you originally were thinking about him? But Nicole urged Vanessa to really have a honest conversation. Do you want to stick with Doug or you don't, you know? Do you want to reignite things or you don't? So it looked like they were headed in the right direction. Doug ends up leaving and she stays. And then she calls the escort service. I said, what? I said, what? So after all of that, she was not satisfied. But there's got to be a lot of dissatisfaction if she's running to so many different men. And I don't even think it's for sex. I think that there's more on the inside going on with Vanessa that she has not really exuded as of yet, you know? We can start with Ashley and Derek. They take a compatibility test, and basically hardly nothing's there. They take it out of a magazine that she was doing. He ends up asking her, do you want to move in? And she's like, well, what's motivating it? Well, my lease is almost up. Like, oh, is that it? So you don't... And he said, why would I not want to be here? Da, 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 da. I mean, it's motivation to want to find a place. But I mean, I still want to be with you. I love you. Da, 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 da. I think he said he loved her, but whatever. If he didn't, he at least said that I love being around you, blah, 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 blah. So they end up moving in together. Or she said, yes, we can move in together. Now, here's my thing. People feel that Derek and Ashley should go. Should they? And I'm asking a real question. Could I say yes? Yeah. However, look at how many black couples and black characters that are just there. Not just on Beyond the Gates. I'm talking about on all the other soaps. They are just there. They don't have a storyline. They don't have anything. And nobody's really saying get rid of them. I don't think that that's fair. Like Abe and Lexi did not have a storyline really until the 2000s. Their characters have been around since the 80s. And someone said, well, Lexi became a Demira. They were more interwoven. But that wasn't until 95. And they had just a quick little stint of Lexi, not so much, it was her own personal storyline, coming to terms on being a Demira, or if she wanted to really be a Demira or not. Other than that, in the 90s, nothing. I mean, there was flirtation going on between her and Jonah, but it's like the only really two black couples are Neil and Drew Winters, Young and the Restless, Angie and Jesse on All My Children. You can say Olivia and Nathan if you want to, but it's like a secondary couple. So I don't mind them being there. Like, I don't have to be invested, just like we didn't, as black people, get to be invested in Abe and Lexi until decades later. Hopefully you hear my point and understand where I'm coming from. Let them be. They'll never be main storyline. Let's see. Bill and Haley. Bill ended up being sad because Haley's not pregnant. He was like, I knew what I wanted and I did not want a child. I just wanted us to travel and all that. And I think that was pretty dumb of Haley. Haley, you are a young viral woman. And you wanted to commit to this man. And I just don't believe it's out of love. I think it's for what you can get out of him. It's so weird. I don't know if you're a sugar baby, but at the same time, it's like, what is actually attracting you to Bill? What are you in love with him about that you were willing to risk not having a child? I'm not saying everybody got to have a child, but it feels like you were willing to sacrifice it just so that you could be married to Bill Hamilton and what it comes with, in my opinion. And what is with the writers? Because it's like, at this point, Bill isn't the villain. He's kind of being redeemed a little bit, allowing the daughters to say, oh, I love you. But how many other children of the villains that actually have to say that they love their fathers or mothers? They would be on opposing sides a lot, but it's like, I don't know. It's like, I need that J.R. Ewing-esque type character, and we don't have it. Yes, we got Joey. Joey's the typical gangster slash loan shark person, but he's only really being a villain to Doug and semi to Vanessa, you know? So it's like, I don't know. I just need that type of villain. And I thought that would be Bill. But hey. He does see Naomi at the country club after Naomi had ran into Martin. They have a little discussion about Chelsea. He's wanting to have a conversation with her, and she was like, no, that you're going to have to get it on your own, blah, 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 blah. Martin and Bill had words. Martin's trying to act like he up here and we're not family, and Bill starts talking about all the things he's done, and Martin says, all you did for me is just recommend the lawyer to get me into the government, da-da-da-da-da. However, he basically tells Martin, I know where all the bodies are buried. So quit messing with me. You know, so it's one of those things. Like, I can't wait for that to move forward. I'm sure it's gonna move forward after this whole Ted and Nicole thing comes out. But yeah. Let's see. Danny chooses her own path. Da, 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 da. Oh, was this Friday or Monday? I think, no, this was Thursday. Nicole visits Laura's hospital, and they talk a little bit, and they discuss her medical condition because she thinks it is weird, and we all do, that why would all of a sudden there would be this spike of potassium and it's no longer in your system now? What is really going on here? And I'm glad that Nicole has all these questions. I'm sure she's going to put it all together when stuff happens during this anniversary thing, but we shall see. Doug wrestles with his demons, and he goes and visits Nicole. He confesses to Nicole that, hey, I'm this. I am an addict to gambling. And she's like, well, you want to tell Vanessa what's going on? And he says, no. Well, how about get some support? He's like, absolutely not. He's too proud of that. Nicole's trying to tell him, you know, it's not too prideful, but it's out of control. It's just not you losing a couple of games here and there, da-da-da-da-da. You are actually, at this point, risking your life. It's depleting your funds and all that stuff, and you may need to tell your wife what's going on. So, back at the Richardsons' home, Samantha spots that Tyrell is talking with Jessica. Jessica is the popular girl that the photo was sent to originally. As we talked about, I think it was last week or the week before. Samantha basically says, oh, y'all to go together. And Tyrell said, no, that's not it. Martin comes in, and then she basically lays it on thick. Tyrell and Jessica sitting in the tree, basically, you know. And Tyrell's like, no, blah, 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 blah. Samantha finally goes upstairs, and Tyrell just explains what's going on. And she's just somebody that has stuck up for me and says that I'm really brave for how I've been able to channel my way through this cyberbullying. Martin says it looks like Jessica has taste. Whatever's going on is going on. He originally invited Jessica to come over to dinner, and Tyrell's like, no, this is not what it's all about. Da, 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 da. So, big win for Tyrell, getting the popular girl. He didn't even orchestrate a picture of him being in undies, but now he got the most popular girl in school, at least admiring him and seeing him for who he is. That's been unlikable to actually happen. Making sure I have everything. Sorry. Okay, so I guess Friday or whatever. Oh, not Nicole. Kat. She goes over to Eva, pretending to make bygones be bygones, while Eva has to go take a telephone call. Of course, Eva was first. Like, what are you doing here? Kat was like, "You're not the only one that can look through files." Da 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 da. You know, I want to make amends and all that. Eva's like, "Is that because is this coming from Ted and Nicole?" And she said, "No, it's coming from me." Da 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 da. Eva takes a phone call, and then Kat starts looking at pictures and sees one, I think, of Eva and Nicole together. She takes a snapshot as Leslie was coming in. Did I say Leslie? I don't know. Not Eva and Leslie, sorry. So then she comes in and says, "What do you think you're doing?" At this point, Kat is stunned a little bit. But Eva comes out and says, "Well, Kat, this is my..." And then she stops herself. She's going to say mother or whatever. Kat finally gets it as to who Leslie is. It's who she knows her as, Anna. But she had on a wig. At that point, Kat said, "You know, I forgot I had something to do and I had to go." She rushed up out of there. And of course, both of them are looking like, what the H was that? But they don't know what's going on. So cut into Friday. Bill has a talk with Thomas as to what they have plans for the office, and it's really disturbing to Bill. He's getting upset, and then also his arm is clamming up again. I think he was losing feeling or numbness in it, but it sounds like it hurts or whatever. But Thomas is asking him, "Is he okay?" And he said, "Yeah, he's fine." And don't tell anyone what he has going on with him. At the police station, Jacob has asked Naomi for a favor. A lady has come in who is homeless, is under arrest, and she's looking at like second-degree assault. She ended up assaulting a unidentified social worker who came over to her spot and was throwing out her stuff that was in her trash. And the homeless woman ended up attacking her because, "Get out of my stuff, blah, 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 blah." So Naomi asked, can she help her? Naomi tries to talk to her. She's abrasive because she's like, "Are you a cop? Are you a social worker? I don't want nothing to do with it." And she said, "No, I'm a lawyer. And I definitely don't want nothing to do with you if you're a lawyer, because I ain't got no money." So Jacob just pleads with Nicole to just say, "Hey, can you work with her? I know you want to do things for the community, but she doesn't feel like she's been supported right. So help her." So Naomi said that she's willing to do it. It's just going to take the time of this homeless person. Basically, that was it as far as my notes say. So I enjoyed it this week. Hopefully you did. Let me know your thoughts about Derek and Ashley. How about this whole Doug and Vanessa mess that's going on? Did you like the karaoke scene? How you like things are shaping up for Tyrell and this new girl, Jessica? And let's see. And Danny finally standing on her own 2 feet. I'm glad that Haley wasn't pregnant, because I think that would have just set Danny back at 0 again, unfortunately. Okay, for the next 2 weeks, Beyond the Gates will be shortened. They will not be airing on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, or it's Wednesdays and Thursdays. However, 2 days out of the week for the next 2 weeks, Beyond the Gates will not be airing. So I'll have shorter reviews. Kind of yay for me. But it looks like the Ted and Nicole anniversary drama will begin starting next week. So we shall see. Again, let me know your thoughts. Like this video. And until the next one, peace.